Hello Zen fam, sorry, it's been a wee while. Work's been kind of, well, just work, and I've just been knackered a lot, and to be honest, lost a little bit of my mojo recently. It just kind of me feeling a bit blah, because there've been things I wanted to talk about, but I've just not been able to find that oomph to make a video. But here we are, so hopefully I can make this a good one, even though half my head is disappearing in the green screen, but you know, we press on, don't we? Yes, we do. Anyway, among all the craziness of like new VR PSVR 2 handset, which by the way I think look very nice, and I look forward to owning them. Because you know your boy loves VR, so VR 2, yes please. Anyway, that aside, I've noticed today there was a wee story, and I imagine some other YouTubers have probably covered this by now. I've not seen any of the content related to this, but I assume it's already happened because, let's face it, every gaming YouTuber leaps on every single story like a pack of ravenous dogs. Arr, 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 arr. So, apparently, even though we're going about to lose all the digi stuff, you know, that you can buy, like DLCs and games and all the rest of it, from PlayStation Portable, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation 3, all three of their stores are going bye bye in the next wee while. It's like this must have been Sony's on this tear for closing things down. But they're closing down communities, although I said about that a while ago. But communities are going, the stores are going. It's like, it's probably not going to be, give it probably another year or so, and then they'll probably end the online support for those systems as well. And then where's that going to put game preservation? Anyway, so they're talking about having this thing where like they might actually bring in some form of software emulation for previous systems on PS5. And all I can say is two things. One, about time, and Jim Ryan, screw you. Because even though I'm not much of a retro guy myself, you know, some days that stuff is fun, and it has to be said, there's a fair old audience for that. There's a lot of people out there that like to play the older stuff, you know, whether it be about the memories, or you know, just game preservation, or you know, you want to see how games were made back then, or you just have a hankering to play Infamous, and why wouldn't you, because Infamous was awesome. So the idea is that hopefully there might come a point where, as far as these articles have been looking, that there's a patent being put out by Sony for these games to be playable on PS5. Now, will it be a software emulation? You know, something, you know, like a firmware that comes along and allows PlayStation 5, because let's face it, it's a beefy bit of hardware. They finally be able to figure out how to do code for PlayStation 3, because as we all know, PlayStation 1 emulation and PlayStation 2 emulation is no bother at all. I mean, there's a zillion computers out there that can do it, you know, there's like enough programs and enough PCs to go, oh, I can make that and off it goes, and you're running, and you're playing PlayStation 1 and 2 games on a PC. And if you're probably a bit swushed and you have a nice telly, and you have like one of those little dongles that like connects your PC to your TV wirelessly, and then you can probably play PlayStation 1 and 2 games on your big TV directly from your putter, boom, and you're away. And with a modern controller, you know, because the DualShock 4 and the DualSense are both compatible with the PC. And that means you could be playing like Destruction Derby with DualSense, which is pretty nice when you think about it. Anyway, so this means that, like, if they can get it right, either it'll be software emulation, which is no bad thing, or maybe you have to buy a Wii box. You know, sort of like, okay, if you want emulation, you're gonna have to pay for it. And I could see why this would be a thing, because when we got to the start of PS4, one of the things they told us about before PS4 came along was how Sony bought up Gaikai. And Gaikai is basically the building blocks, the foundation of PlayStation Now. So, PlayStation Now, as I'm sure we all know out there, is Sony's game streaming platform. They were doing game streaming before Stadia. Okay? So you could buy your games, you know, rent the games and play them. And they've let you rent like on PS1, PS2 and PS3. And you don't have to worry about doing that for PlayStation 4, because aside from, what was it, like 7 or 8 titles, almost the entire PlayStation 4 library is playable on PlayStation 5. So you're sorted there. And you can even do your VR. You know, so you have your wee dongle thing, which I have, but I've just left it in my PS4 now because I'm not satisfied with the fact that if I want to pass it through, my nice HDMI, you know, that 1.5 Uber HDMI cable that comes with the 5. And I've got to pass through that into my breakout box and then get lesser signals to my TV from my 5. So it's an inelegant solution, which is why, for the time being, any VR activity I'm going to be doing is going to be on my 4. Now, PSVR 2, obviously, that'll happen on my 5. So, I'm taking care of that with that. So, we get these games, they're running on a little box. You pay for the box, probably like, it might look like a, it'd be kind of neat. I don't know if it bore a little bit of aesthetic from each one of the previous boxes. It could be interesting. Or maybe you buy a little box of each version. You know, buy like a little tiny PlayStation, a little tiny PS2, a little tiny PS3. That'd be kind of neat. Kind of like the PlayStation Classic, but like even smaller, like about the size of a deck of cards. That could be a laugh. And do the same with PS2, and maybe a little bit bigger for the PS2, because, you know, more complexity, bigger game library, so on and so on. And same again for PS3. In fact, you could probably buy like the box or circuitry, like, you know, buy like a Raspberry Pi, and then Sony could sell you differing skins for it. So it could look like an original 60 gigger, or it could look like the Slim, or it could look like the Super Slim. You could probably buy them in different colours. You could even probably get like a glacial white PS3. Things could get interesting with that, and you could do the same with the PS2, and you could get one that was like a, for PlayStation 1, you know, or PlayStation. You could have one that was like an original PlayStation, or one that was like a PS1, or one that's like a Netyazaru. You know, you can have some fun with this, you know, some different molds for the little circuitry pack. That basically would just be a little bit of rudimentary circuitry and a fairly extensive memory. You know, it's like a little bit of flash memory in there, and boom, like about 50 games on each system. Or considering that they will connect to the PS5, you know, probably like a USB pass-through, so then like you can still plug other things in, because let's face it, there are not enough ports in the PS5. So you'd like have a, you know, like a port where it's like got like the USB there, but then there's a USB sticky in here, so then you can still put like your camera or your recharge cable or whatever else still going into your machine, so you should still be good. If they do that, then they're on definite winner. So then it goes into your PlayStation and it does all the PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3 thinking which I think could be up to something. And if that's the case, then it does the thinking. It does all the computational govern, so it basically acts like that system, but you buy the games that are analogous to that system off the PlayStation 5 store. That could definitely be the way to go. Yes. I like this way this is forming in my brain. So, play it with whatever controller you like. You'll probably just play it with your DualSense. Because, it doesn't matter. A PlayStation controller is a PlayStation controller. In that essence, same buttons, same layout. The only thing is, a lot of the original PlayStation stuff, there was no twin joysticks. But other than that, still pretty much the same button layout. But what would be really good is what this patent talks about, is you have these games, and then they come with the trophy support. Trophy support, yes indeedy. I rather like the sound of that, and because the modernized versions, like, they're going to add trophy support, then chances are they're probably also going to give the games a bit of a tweak, because they're going to get up-resed on PlayStation 5 anyway. So they're probably maybe go in and just have a little bit of AI that interacts on the system that sort of just makes everything a bit shinier, and obviously makes it work for the new aspect ratio, because you have to remember, when PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 were first on the scene, especially for PlayStation 1, TVs were in a different aspect ratio to now, and back then, your TV then was like yawn. Now TVs are like yawn, so that has to be accounted for, because nobody wants black bars down either side. Although some retro guys do love that. So, hey, whatever makes you happy happen, retro guys. So it's all very interesting, but there is something that does make me wonder. It's like, can we have this, backwards compatibility possibly come over the horizon? And we have PSVR 2 coming. Now, we have these new controllers, which means we finally get to supersede the Move controllers. And don't get me wrong, I love my Move controllers, but they are not as accurate as they could be as what you need for VR. Now, back in the day, for stuff like The Fight Lights Out and some other of the great PS3 games from the Move era, then there was some stutters. They were great for that, but they've been not as good as they could be for VR when you consider things like the controllers from the Vive. I mean, I've used the Vive, and those controllers, wow, chef's kiss. They're really good controllers. They feel so natural in your hand. And considering that one of my Move controllers will no longer, store a charge, so that means, like for the last few weeks when I was playing Blood and Truth, one of those controllers permanently had to have my micro USB cable, because I still have a micro USB cable for this kind of reason in it, so it would keep taking a charge even though it couldn't store the charge, so I could play that game. Because a weekend that game, that Move, it's bad, we just gave up the ghost. So eventually I'm going to have to get new Move controllers at some point. But then I'm at a thing where if I get new Move controllers, they're not backwards compatible. So you can't play with all the systems, but then my PS3 is gone anyway, so that's not really a concern. But what is a concern is considering that it's going to be inside out tracking. It's like there's cameras based on the unit that will basically track the controllers on your hand, or so that's what they're saying, because if you look at the controllers, there's no lights on them, so chances are there'll have to be some form of image recognition software built into the headset that will look at the controllers in your hands and know where your hand are, probably gyros and stuff, and be able to measure distance by looking at relative size, which is probably why they're spherical in nature. How big is the sphere? Is the sphere this big or is the sphere this big? And then the actuators and gyroscopes so it could tell how it's been twisted, where it's been twisted, and how fast it's moving. You know, there's all kinds of clever gubbins it could do with tracking. And then, of course, you know, the cameras in the unit, because I've talked for so long about PSVR 2, you know, basically having cameras in it, so you could switch to an outside view, you know, when you need to do something outside of the game, when you need to see your controller, or see your couch, or find the remote, or whatever. So, that's all great, that's all groovy. And chances are they'll bring the PlayStation VR 1 library over. I mean, I imagine there's probably not that much they need to do for making games work instead of with Move controllers to work with those new controllers. I don't know what they're called, nobody knows what they're called, but let's just call them, you know, game orbs. You know, the orbs. So you got your orbs, and now you have to transmit the controls from Move to orb. And most of that is basically just point and tilt, because the light on the top of the Move is just for positional tracking. So if that could be done with the inside out tracking from the headset, then, you know, I'm imagining if you're a computer programming typey person, that's probably not too crazy. Now, if I'm wrong, then please educate me in the comment section below. But I think that's probably getawayable. But what it does concern me is my aim gun. I love my aim. I mean, you know, not had as much chance to use it as I'd like. I mean, I love Bravo Team, and I was quite keen on, what's it called? Farpoint. Because I actually had the physical version of Farpoint for ages before I got to play it. And then they put out PlayStation Plus. But yeah, Farpoint's good, definitely play it, but if you don't like spiders, maybe steer away from it. Some of the beasties are kind of almost like Borderlands in their design, with a bit stuffy in that. Anyway, so I love my aim gun, so that's got to have something happen with it. And, you know, does it mean that, like, they'll have to put in firmware to the PlayStation 5 camera that allows it to pick up the light from the stuff like that? I mean, will the headset itself have tracking lights, or will that be, will it use its own inside out tracking data to sort of like know where the floor is and know where the walls are in your house, so then it can gauge its own position in reality, so then it can know what it is in virtual reality? And considering that a lot of people have spoken about the idea of PlayStation VR 2 having AR components to it, a lot of questions. The more I try to answer the questions, the more questions come up. How very Sony. So yeah, interesting times ahead, interesting proposals ahead, but as we have to remember, with all patents, it could all be bunkum. It could just be vapor. It could be all nothing. I mean, it could very well just be the case of going, we got this idea, we'll put this idea on paper, we'll send it to the patent office, so then that way if anybody else has the same idea, we can go, no, that's our idea, get some money. Or at least nobody else can do that idea, or if they want to do that idea, then they have to give Sony a big chunk of cash before they go through with it. So, things are getting interested with that. Maybe it'd be kind of neat if the thing that Haven is working on, and for how the Japan studios staff have been reassigned out of Japan studios because that no longer exists into the new thing, maybe they're working on new VR stuff for PSVR 2. Probably not, but it's a nice idea. Okay guys, my brain's just buzzing with ideas now, man. I'm just like, ooh, what about, and ooh, and you're probably doing the same. So if you have a crazy notion, you know what to do, typey down below, let me know. Okay, I'm going to try and get these videos back to the schedule of at least 1 or 2 a week. Sorry for missing about a fortnight there, guys. You know, just sometimes life gets in the way. But, you know, I try not to let that happen too much. Main thing I'm bummed about though is this year that yet again there's going to be no Resonate, and I'm really looking forward to that because I've never got a really nice phone. I mean, I bought a Sony Xperia 1 Mark II because I thought this will be the one that really makes nice videos for video shoots of me. It did a really lovely job for the PlayStation 5 launch night, and but it is what it is. Okay, I think I rambled quite long enough. Gonna love you and leave you like I always do. You know the drill. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, no bother.